AITA for telling my girlfriend to move back to her own country if she won't learn my language? Help me settle this. I'm Dutch, 28 meters, and my girlfriend is Italian, 25F. We live in the Netherlands in a city where you can get by even if you speak only English. She is living here for 5 years, and we are dating for almost 2 years. She speaks no Dutch and makes no effort to learn. Even simple phrases, greetings. She won't bother with them. I didn't really care in the beginning. But as time goes by, I find it strange that someone can live in a place for years and refuse to learn the native language. She says Dutch is difficult, sounds ugly, and she doesn't need it for her work or social life. So what's the point? That's all true. But for some reason it bothers me. This morning we were talking about where to travel on a holiday, and the topic of language came up. When I suggested showing her a part of the Netherlands that she hasn't seen, it pissed me off when she joked that she wants to go on holiday somewhere she doesn't have to hear Dutch. It left a bad taste. So I said let's talk about this later and tried to end the conversation. That didn't go as planned. She followed me asking why am I acting like this over a joke. And eventually it turned into a big argument. She asked me why does it matter when pretty much any Dutch person speaks English anyways. Why do I even care? I said how would she like it if I moved to her country and refused to learn her language? She said, if Italian sounded ugly like Dutch, then I would get it. In the heat of the moment I said, if that's what you think, then maybe you should move back there. I don't really feel that way. I was just angry. But she said this crossed a line and doesn't speak to me now. AITA for what I said. And also for being pissed that she won't learn my language? NTA. After 5 years, she should have at least learned the basics through osmosis. Not to do so takes a concentrated effort. Do you speak Italian? If not, perhaps you could offer to trade language lessons. NTA. I am from the US but live in Portugal now. That is a difficult language to me. I learned all the usual phrases before I came and am picking up new words every day. Actually, with my southern accent, it seems like I am making an entire new language. But it seems to mean a lot to people that I am trying. I don't understand how someone can live in a country for 5 years and not speak the language at all. It's not respectful. NTA. So what would happen if she got stuck somewhere in your country that doesn't speak as much English? She'd be stranded and rude to people, I bet. I do find it very rude to move to another country and refuse to learn even the basics of the language. You might have been joking, but do you really want to spend your life with someone who is so hostile against your homeland? NTA. She's telling a Dutch person that their language sounds ugly, which is bigoted BTW. And she doesn't need it for her social life, which includes her partner. Right? Most people realize that when you're in another country than your own, it's polite to at least be able to say courtesies and basic phrases in that country's language. Her attitude would be a deal breaker for me. I hope you find someone more compatible with a better worldview. Because if that's her attitude toward her host country, I imagine she's rather high maintenance in other ways also. NTA. Her rationale is pretty ridiculous and you have every right to be offended. NTA. To call another language ugly is just rude. She crossed a line by refusing to accept your culture and instead blowing it off as ugly. I dated a Dutch man living in Australia. I am American, so we both communicated in English. And I learned several Dutch phrases and words in order to show him how much I cared. It's not hard to embrace other cultures and languages. NTA. As a German, I feel you. The amount of times people have told me that our language is ugly is ridiculous, and I try to not let it get to me. But when people do it that actively live in and benefit off Germany, I blow up. It shows a lack of respect, and quite frankly after 5 years it's insulting. How did you last even 2 years? And why is she still living there after 5? NTA. NTA. The line, outside of context, sounds racist, but in context it's the exact opposite. People who live in a country without speaking that country's language are disrespecting the country, treating it like a hotel and themselves like customers. Your country is not a public convenience. Your language is not ugly. And your culture's extreme cosmopolitanism is not an excuse for everyone else to treat you like you don't matter. Dump her. NTA. I think you could have been a bit nicer and could have worded your point better. But recognize you said it in the heat of the moment. It seems you both have different expectations in your relationship, and this seems like a good moment to look at the future of it. Ask yourself, where do you both want to live later? Do you want children, and if so, do you want them to learn Dutch and Italian? Will she have a problem with that? Can you see a future with someone who doesn't want to hear your native language in her home? Communicate with her about this and about your wishes for the relationship. However, if you really want her to learn Dutch, you have to want to learn Italian too. Emo. If she doesn't need it to get by, then that makes learning it harder because there really is no pressure or social demand. And if she isn't good at learning languages and it isn't something she is naturally interested in, then it's a very challenging thing to expect someone to take up. And again, she doesn't need to learn. So really, it's just a difference of opinion between you two where you are trying to force your perspective on her, since she doesn't need it to live in the Netherlands. It seems more like you just want her to learn your language. So, have you learned hers? Realistically, other than it making you feel better, she doesn't particularly need to learn Dutch in a country where statistically, over 90% of the country speaks English. You're asking someone to learn a third language that she doesn't have to learn. Your comparison doesn't even make sense. Either. Refusing to learn Italian in Italy would definitely inconvenience you, seeing as less than 30% of the population speaks English. There is more incentive for you to learn Italian in Italy than it is for your girlfriend to learn Dutch in the Netherlands. On the other hand, your girlfriend is rude as hell and is displaying xenophobic behavior, which isn't that surprising seeing as Italy has a bad enough issue of fascism that it's worth mentioning. She needs to be checked. That is disgusting behavior. NTA. It's not difficult to pick up a few phrases, and she has had 5 years to learn. NTA for being angry, but the phrase you used is pretty harsh. She is comfortable, and sometimes learning the language you live in comes with a sense of abandonment for where you come from, especially if your friends are not from your home country and you can't speak your language at home. You can't either because she doesn't learn it, but with friends in everyday life you can communicate in the language that you are more comfortable with. I call it a home language. She doesn't have that. She may be defensive because, well, learning something new is hard, and I am guessing her support system is not the best considering she is in a different country. It's hard. However, I think she should try it. Maybe encourage her. Talk to her and explain that you think it could be easier or make her feel more at home. Because at this point she is just comfortable. She sees no need in learning it. Forgot to ask, do you speak Italian? My advice is encourage her and start small and at home. But if she is really against learning it, decide if it's a deal breaker for you. NTA. A little interest in your language, culture goes a long way. That said, It probably would be more insightful if you explained to her how her words came across and why this bothers you. Also, showing parts of the Netherlands that she has not seen is such a great idea. Sucks that she slammed that idea down for such a reason. NTA, like. Lived in Italy for months. Was meant to be a year. Learned some basics to get by. Go to a new country for 2 days. Learn enough to decode a menu. Find medical care in an emergency. And hello and thank you, because most people appreciate hearing hello and thank you in their own languages. She should learn the basics of Dutch. Even if it's hard. Even if you can get by everywhere speaking English just simply because it is respect for the country and culture you are living in. But I think respect is the issue here. She doesn't sound like she respects the culture. I would not continue dating someone who so clearly despises my culture and frequently expresses that with nasty and disrespectful statements. NTA. I don't think you are compatible. I think she had already crossed the line. NTA.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.